Now, I haven't used this. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but I know that Resin's Aurora powder floats in resin, so there's only one way to find out, and that's to try it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts, and I hope you're doing okay. In this video, I'm going to be trying some resin moulds. I've got 3 different resin moulds. I want to concentrate on one of them, but I think 2 of them would pair up really nicely together. So I'm going to see if they work. One of them is actually a Christmas mould that I don't think is just for Christmas. I think it's absolutely beautiful, can be used all year round. And paired with one of the other ones that I've got, I think it'll turn out really nice. So this is the first resin mould I'll be using. All 3 moulds are from Resin, and this one was sent to me before Christmas as a Christmas jar mould. Each mould has its own set of care instructions, and their handmade moulds are made with very soft, supple silicone. So it is worth taking note of their care guide. Now, I do tend to use a lot of isopropyl alcohol on my moulds, but I am aware that these moulds are not that great at taking isopropyl alcohol. But I am really excited to try this mould, and I do think this mould is not just for Christmas. The second mould I have from Resin is a butterfly mould, and it's not a flat butterfly, which is one of the reasons I thought it would be amazing. Its wings are quite raised. The third one I have is a tortoise mould, and I do like turtles and tortoises, and thought this would just be so sweet. I'm going to be using Astoyo resin for this make. I do have a nice discount code for Astoyo resin, which is on the screen and will also be in the description box below, together with now a UK Amazon Astoyo discount code, which I haven't had previously. It's a really wonderful resin, and it does work better when it's warm, but then all resins work better when it's warm. I use the Astoyo mixer, which has a really nice AI feature and will change directions every so often and mixes for 4 minutes. Even though you use any type of mixer, you still need to scrape the edges and the bottom of the container, because unmixed resin will be there. And unmixed resin can leave swirly marks and be quite sticky. Once I'm happy it's completely mixed, I'm dividing it into 2. I'm going to put Let's Resin purple resin dye into one part, and I'm really into translucent colours at the moment. I like the fact that you can see through a colour. It's just hitting the right spot at the moment. Do you know what I mean? But I did want it quite purple, so I ended up putting a little bit more colouring in it. But you really don't need much of this colourant. Just want to say a quick hello and welcome to my new subscribers. I've had quite a few recently, and I really appreciate you subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, maybe you would consider doing so. It doesn't cost anything, and it definitely helps my channel out. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this content, please put a thumbs up. Again, that pushes the video out so that more people have a chance to see it. With the second half, I'm going to use some Resin Diamond Aurora mica powder, and I'm going to choose silver. I thought the silver would go with purple really well. Now, I haven't used this. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but I know that Resin's Aurora powder floats in resin. It is translucent, and it gives a kind of wavy effect in the resin, and I'm really looking forward to how this one is going to turn out. So there's only one way to find out, and that's to try it. Resin have quite a lot of different types of Aurora, and I believe the diamond one is more glittery. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this one turns out, and I gave it a good stir in the clear resin. Now it's time to pour into my mould. Now I have at this point waited about 20 minutes, so the resin has thickened up quite considerably. Therefore the colours should stay fairly separate. Once I've got the resin poured, I go in and under the lip with a bent piece of wire to get out any stuck air. This mould does have quite a considerable lip, although it is at an angle, it's not a flat lip, so it shouldn't be that bad. I give it a squirt of isopropyl alcohol, and when I'm happy I leave it on the side to cure. It does not go in my pressure pot, it just sits on the side. Now I do have some resin left, and that's perfect for my little butterfly. I figured I would put one wing that was purple and one with the Diamond Aurora silver, and I thought that would make it really stand out. Now this butterfly mould, the wings tip down underneath the silicone, so I was thinking that any air would get trapped in there, so I did use a micro brush to go in and get out any potential bubbles. Remember, this resin has not been degassed, it's just as it was, and it's been stirred quite considerably. Again, I gave it a spray with isopropyl alcohol. I know you're not meant to use isopropyl alcohol, but this is just the resin on the top. I like the fact that the colours are separated slightly, and I leave it to cure on my worktop. Now I do have a little bit of resin left, so I get out the third mould and I decide to just pour both the little bits of resin that are left into the tortoise mould, knowing it won't go up to the top, but I don't like wasting resin, and I usually have a spare mould off to one side that I can use up remnants of resin in. So I used a micro brush just to whiz the purple around a little bit, and you can see the sparkle of the Aurora when I give you a close-up. Very beautiful. About 3 hours later, and I decide to fill up the tortoise mould. So I'm going to use some Dark Magic, which is one of Emma's colours. Now, unfortunately, the tortoise wasn't really sticky enough, but it was very, very slightly sticky. I kind of missed the sticky stage. Now, I know people have told me squirt it with isopropyl alcohol and it gives a sticky surface back, but these moulds are not really great at taking isopropyl alcohol, so I decided to just try my best and get some colour on the back. I'm going to top this mould up with black polyurethane resin, and the link for this will be in the description box below. It's from MB Fiberglass, available in UK only, but I'm sure there's black polyurethane in other parts of the world too. I just make up a small amount of black polyurethane just to fill the tortoise mould to the top. You only get 30 seconds to stir this, and it goes off and cures within 40 minutes. So it really is a quick alternative when you want to just crack on with your day. I know I'm going to get comments about this isopropyl alcohol malarkey, but I won't use isopropyl alcohol in these moulds. I'll only squirt it on the top. And yes, I squirt it with isopropyl alcohol because it works the same at reducing the bubbles on the top. The following day I can demould. The first thing I'm going to demould is the tortoise. I am looking forward to seeing how this one came out, as it was just leftover resin. And I absolutely love it. The purple, the sparkle, and that really gorgeous shade of blue from Dark Matter really has set that off. Now it's time to move on to the butterfly, and I wasn't 100% sure how to get this butterfly out. I did not want to tear the mould. As I've said before, these moulds are made with very rubbery silicone, but they can tear sometimes, so I am trying to be careful not to tear it. But once I put my finger under the main body, it was a lot easier. He came out and the mould was intact. I love this little butterfly. There are a couple of bubbles in his body, but I didn't degas the resin and it was quite warm by this point. But I really love the sparkle and the colours. And I just wanted to give you a quick close-up of this tortoise because the sparkle and colours in this are immense. Moving on to demoulding the large vase. Now this is the Christmas one, and again, as I've said, these moulds are really squishy silicone and I don't want to destroy this mould. I think this mould has real potential. You can see the flowery design through the mould, and I think that is what's really exciting. Once I realised that I can push the top part of the mould over, I can get the piece out and the mould goes back really easily. This design is absolutely stunning and I have a mass of bubbles in it. As I said, I did not degas this resin. It didn't go in my pressure pot because the moulds are quite squishy and I think it will collapse. But the design of this is stunning. The lip round the top is beautiful and the flowers are matte, which makes them stand out. And the flowers are gorgeous. I'm going to have to do this again and degas first. So I'm going to try it again with some blue resin dye from Let's Resin. Okay, you know I'm a purple girl. I use purple most of the time, so blue's my secondary colour, so that's what we'll do. Again, I have split the resin in 2 cups, one for the blue and one for some Resin original Aurora powder, and this is their blue version, I believe. It was actually a free gift and it doesn't say on it what colour it is, but to me it looks blue. Now this time I'm going to degas the resin. I'm going to use the Let's Resin degassing machine. It takes around 9 minutes. That's the sort of time that I put it in for. Once I'm happy that it is completely degassed, I'm then going to pour it into the mould again, swapping around halfway through to get a different colour from top to bottom. So again, this resin was made about 20 minutes prior to pouring. Putting that to one side, I then do exactly the same with the butterfly. Half blue and half Aurora. So by this point I haven't really explained how I'm going to pair these moulds up, and I will show you at the end, but I do think it makes so much difference. Even though these moulds are stunning on their own, if you pair 2 moulds together it will make one individual amazing design. And finally I have made a little bit more resin this time to make another tortoise. And I'm just going to use both resins and pour it to the top. Following day I can demould and the tortoise is first again. I'm excited to see this one, to see what the Aurora colour has done, and I wish this video would pick it up better. Any video doesn't show you how beautiful these colours are in real life. They are stunning. The mould is extremely sweet, and this mould could be paired with something else, I'm sure. Moving on to the butterfly, and I'm not so afraid of this mould now. I know it's got a lot more give than I gave it credit for to start with, but they do tend to soften up once you've used them a couple of times, moulds. Have you noticed? So this time I'm just going to pop my finger underneath and pull each wing out. Still making sure I'm not going to tear the opening. Don't want to do that, do we? The resin is super clear, crystal clear, no bubbles, and that Aurora is stunning. And finally, the jar mould. Now this is a little bit more tricky to demould, and I thought this time I'd give you some sound effects. My first impressions, that blue is stunning, and that Aurora powder has made it really something quite spectacular. There's less bubbles. Now there are a few still at the bottom. That is because air rises in a mould, and if it can't get out from a direct opening, it gets stuck. So the answer's right there. I do think that using a degassing machine definitely helps with a mould like this. Now, as I said at the beginning, I'm going to pair a couple of moulds up. I'm going to use some Resin UV glue, which does come with its own rechargeable curing torch, and stick the butterfly to the jar mould. I think they will work really well together. Another reason why translucent resin is definitely on my preferred list at this moment. Because the light can travel through, you can use UV glue and a small torch and it sticks in 10 seconds. That's how quick it is, and it really is stuck. Believe me, it's not going anywhere. I think both of these makes are absolutely gorgeous, and I really like the tortoise, even though they were just for leftover resin really. Pairing these moulds together means I have made something nobody else has made yet. I love these two. They work really well together. The colours are stunning, the powders are stunning, the moulds are stunning. And I hope you agree that this jar mould is not just for Christmas. It will work at any time of the year. Why don't you have a go at pairing up some of your moulds? I'm sure you've got some that will fit together beautifully. And if you're anything like me, I have loads of moulds that I don't use much, and pairing them up could give them another lease of life. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you've got something out of it. Come back and see me next week, because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting. And bye for now.